What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. I hope you're all keeping well. Now in this video I am making some fuel for my stove. Winter is fast approaching and things are getting that bit colder, so I want to turn my sawdust, which is essentially a waste product of my workshop, into a fuel source and make some lovely sawdust briquettes. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So I'm going to build this. This is a compound lever press. Now, this is not my design. This was originally designed by an engineer by the name of Lee Hoyt. I believe he works for Engineers Without Borders. So I will link to Lee's website in the description, where you'll get full plans for this and a full description on how it's built. I won't go into all the measurements and stuff in this video. I'll just show you how I built it and how I've made my sawdust briquettes. So Lee Hoyt is the man who designed this originally, so definitely go check that out. It'll be in the description below. So without further ado, let's get on and make some fuel for the home fire. Okay, let's get going with this build. Now we don't need much for this. It's just some 4x2s and I have some 12mm bolts of different sizes. Now I won't go over the dimensions and stuff. Like I said already, all that will be linked in the comments or in the description below. So the full assembly instructions and all the dimensions you need will be in that. So I won't cover them in this video. It will be a waste of time. I'm going to get chopping on the miter saw all the various components and we'll get assembling. Let's do that. Okay, that's all the components cut, nice, quick and simple. Again, all the instructions are below in the description of this video, so I'll link to that there. So I'm going to start assembling this now. I'm just going to start screwing it together, then we'll drive some bolts through it just to strengthen everything up. It's nice, quick and simple to make this, so I'll crack on now and do it. And yeah, start screwing stuff. Okay, first thing to do is the base. That consists of 3 pieces. This is essentially what you'll put your press on top of. This will support it. So there's 2 uprights either side. So we can just use a block of 4x2 to measure how far these pieces need to be in. Again, all the instructions are there. So I'm pretty good at that there now. So let's get a couple of screws in this just to hold it. And I think I might actually use a wee bit of wood glue too, just for that extra bit of strength, but probably not totally necessary. Lovely, base assembled. Now, I'm going to stand it up on its 2 legs, so we get the correct height, and then we can start to put in our uprights. So B and B, just like that. Okay, same thing with the 2 back uprights. Wee bit of wood glue, because why not? Every little helps, as they say. Just a quick check, make sure we're keeping everything square before we proceed, and we are. Lovely jubbly. So now screw on the feet. They can go on permanently now. I'm just going to put a little cut in the end just so I have a little foot either side, and we'll screw them in place. I'll do that on the bandsaw. Okay, we can screw the legs in place now, or the feet I should say. There we go. Okay, so we're nearly fully assembled. So we just have the two parts of our compound lever to go in. Now, I'm going to plane this back a touch, just because I want it a little bit loose in between our two uprights. I don't want that much friction. We want that to be nice and loose, so we can sand that or plane it back just to take a little bit of thickness off it. And that's going to be our handle part of our lever that we're going to press down, which will press down that fella and drive our thing into our base. So this is going to be our handle. I'm going to take a little bit off this on the bandsaw, make this a little bit smaller, round it over, just so it's not full of splinters and it's nicer to use in our hand. Just round it over. Okay, let's do that. Okay, I'm just rounding over this hand part again. I'm not being very particular about this. Just take off the corners. Just round over the edges, get rid of all the splinters. Yeah, that's nice to grip there now. Like I said, I'm not going to do too much with this. We don't got to be too particular. That'll do the finest. Okay guys, I'm just marking out all the holes for the various bolts. Again, this is all in the instructions, in the drawings, so there's no point in me going through where every hole goes. You'll see when I'm assembling anyway, and again, it's very, very straightforward. So I'm just marking out where I'm going to drill my 12mm holes or my 1/2" holes. Now probably a 10mm bolt would probably be plenty, but I'm using 12mm, that's what I have. So that's what we're going to do. So I have my holes marked here, here for our mechanisms, both sides. Then we have our holes in our handle here, and our other part of our lever, we have a hole here and a hole here. So I'll get on and drill all these out now, and we will jump back in when that is done. Okay, I have a really nice sharp brad point bit. These are ENT bits, they're really, really good. So I'm just drilling them out. I'm just drilling it out. I'm not putting it in the drill press. I'm just going to drill this out by hand, and it should be fine. So just line it up on my mark. Try and keep perpendicular. Just drill it out, and we can tidy it up in a bit. Just make sure our bolts go through. We don't want it too tight, so we want our bolts to be able to spin. So these need to turn on the bolts. So we can give it a little bit of a ream just to make sure, and we should be happy days. That should be good to go. So I'll get on and drill all these holes now, and we'll start assembling. Right, all the holes are drilled. Now for the two arms that go between the two levers, I suppose you'd call them, I've just had a little offcut of oak, so I've just cut them to size, and I've just drilled the 12mm holes in them, and they're going to link my two parts of my lever together. Now you could use some plywood from this for 1/2" inch plywood, or you could rip down some of the 4x2. I just thought at this thickness, a little bit of oak would be stronger to use for these parts. And in fact, for this part here, if you had a nice piece of hardwood, it would be better, because all the pressure will be on the bottom of this, and we'll see how long it lasts. It's easy, cut this and replace it if we need to, but yeah, we'll see how we get on. But ideally a piece of hardwood for here would be good. So yeah, let's get assembling this now. All the holes are drilled, it's just a case of stick a few bolts in it. Okay, let's put this together. Our first piece I'm going to shove in is this guy, our bottom arm. So we get those two holes to line up and tap through our bolt. Look for the hole first. Where is it? There we go, right there. Lovely. And I actually should have put a washer on. Actually, this side I don't need a washer because I have the panhead bolts, but we do want a washer on that side. And we don't have to overly tighten these because we want that mechanism to move. Just like that. Okay, let's get our arm in place. Same thing again. I may have this piece the wrong way around. Let's see. Do I? Okay, there was a wee bit of faffing around there. I just had the hole in this piece drilled a little bit far back, so just readjusted that and we are now good to go. So we can put in our link arms between our two levers. So I have them here. So first one in there. The second one in here. And hopefully everything should line up on this side, which it does, just a boot. Lovely. So, 2 washers. Take off the boxing gloves. Now, there we go. So now you can see our compound lever in action. So we put our press in here. We use this to press it down, and we can generate quite a lot more force back here as well. And if you feel like you need to make this bigger, you can make it higher. It's just a case of extend the uprights up as high as you want, depending on how big of a press you want to get in here. So this is going to be our test run anyway, and we'll see how we get on with this. So that's it, more or less complete. Now you can generate quite a lot of force with these. If you wanted to use a long lever, I would be outside the workshop somewhere pushing down on it, but you can see you've essentially compressed everything into a compound lever now, which maximizes the force you can get in a short space. So that's why they're so good. Right, happy days. I'll button everything up here now. I just want to put 2 bolts through each side of the legs as well, just to strengthen it up. And we have a brace piece actually to make. So I'll get all this tightened up and we'll look at making our brace piece. Okay, that's everything buttoned up. Everything is in place. Now we need to make a brace piece for this, just for the extra bit of strength. In the drawing or in the plans, it shows notching for your mechanism here, so for the connecting arms between your 2 levers, but because mine aren't sticking out, I didn't make them from 4x2, so my bolts are actually not proud of the edge of these. I don't need to cut a notch, so what I'm actually just going to do is take another piece of 4x2 and just put it from bolt to bolt like that. Scribe a line there, and scribe a line there. Hopefully that should be good. We'll just do that again, make sure we are correct. And we can just cut those 2 pieces and screw it up. Right guys, there we are, fully assembled. So you can see how it all goes together. So we have 3 pieces for our, essentially, this is our bench top, that's what our piece will sit on. So a center piece that just runs between your 2 legs either end. So you cut your 2 outer pieces, just sit between your 2 legs, 2 uprights either side. Feet, you have first part of your lever, second part of your lever, and then the connecting arms, or connecting hinge mechanisms, I suppose you would call it. Put a brace on that side just for when you're putting all that force down, it stops them from pushing the legs apart. So yeah, that's more or less the compound lever press complete. Now we need to make up our cylinder for making our briquettes. So that's the next job. Okay, on to making the part for making our briquette. So I have a piece of 4-inch waste pipe. I've cut this roughly 6 inches or 150 mil. This is 4-inch or 100 mil PVC pipe. It's just waste pipe. I'm hoping the walls of this will be strong enough. It should be. We'll test it out. If I have to get a thicker piece, then I will. But for now, we're going to use this. Now, I'm going to put a center piece in mine. You don't have to, but it does help the briquette dry out if there's a hole in your briquette. A piece of inch or inch and a half waste would be good. I don't have any at the minute, but I might by the end of the video have got my hands on some, so we'll see. But for now, I'm just going to put in, I have some 20 mil, or this would be 3/4 inch PVC electrical conduit. So we can. I'm going to use that to go in the center. I have a 4-inch or 100 millimeter hole saw, so I'm going to drill out a good few pieces of plywood now to make a press that pushes down through this, and also to make a base for it, so that just about fits in the pipe. So I'll cut my piece of plywood with this, a little bit of sanding to make sure that they fit inside in here. It'll all make sense. These are the components, and these are how I'm going to use it anyway. So once I start making this, it'll all make sense. So we got to make a base for this, and then we got to make our press, which goes down inside in this, which this will force down to compress our slurry to make our briquette. And drill a bunch of holes in this as well to let the water out. So let's crack on. Okay, this next bit is just lots of me drilling out 4-inch holes with this hole saw. So I'm going to crack on and do this now. Just be careful when you're using such big bits, because they can catch a lot of power in these drills and you can damage your wrist. So yeah, just be on the safe side and be careful. I'll drill a whole bunch of these now. I need a good few of them. So like I said, I'll crack on. Okay guys, here's where we're at. So I have the press almost made up now. So there's a 4-inch pipe. I've just drilled a load of holes in it. I've made up the base. So there is the 20 mil or 3/4 pipe. I'll drill a bunch of holes in this as well. And so it's just a disc onto a base that's just glued and screwed, so that sits straight on it like that. That will sit in the middle. Then we have the press part, which will compress the briquette. The briquette, I can never say the word. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue the 4 of those together. They'll slot down over that pipe, and then that will push this down to compress it. Now, depending on how big I want to make my briquette, I'm going to keep the 3 of these ones separate. I'm not going to glue these together, so I can add one on to compress it a bit further. If I want to compress it a bit more, I can add another one, and so on. So they'll act like little shims to just compress the briquette more and more, so I can experiment with different thicknesses of briquette to see which one works out the best. So that's that kind of more or less made. Now, what I want to do is just take, I think, 4 of these, and I'm going to glue them together. So we'll start by putting that into the center of it, and we'll slot them down on top of that. We'll glue each one, clamp it, and that will be that then done. We can let that glue up, and then it's time to prepare our slurry. Okay guys, this is the barrel that I'm going to be using. So nice, good and clean inside. So I'm going to be packing this full of sawdust, all the shavings, all that kind of stuff. So this is full to the neck of sawdust. And I'm going to fill this with water, create my slurry, let this sit for a few days, and then we can start taking it out and using it in the press. So I'm going to take this outside and do all this outside now, because it's very dusty and very messy work. I'm going to leave this outside with the lid on it. And it's a lid that I can lock and keep stuff out of it, so it will be absolutely perfect. And I can reach down into the bottom. It's not so deep that I can't reach the bottom of it. I don't want to be diving headfirst into a barrel, so yeah, it's not too deep. So that's what I'm going to do off camera. I get all this stuff into this barrel, fill it full of water, and then when it's all mixed up and ready, in a couple of days time, we'll jump back in and we start making briquettes. Hey guys, all the sawdust is in the barrel. I'm just filling it with water now, giving it a good stir around. Nice witch's brew. There's nearly enough water in there now that I can just leave it soaking. And like I said, we leave that for a few days, and that will be our slurry then for making our briquettes. You can use just about anything for this. There's some plastic which I don't want in it. I think that is enough water there now. So we can use paper and other such stuff from the workshop, leaves from the garden you can put into this as well. Mix it all into it until we get some briquettes. Plastic I don't want. Paper is fine. Cardboard is actually fine too. So if you need to get rid of any cardboard, chop that up, get it in there. Right, I'll keep mixing this, and when it's ready, we'll start making briquettes. Okay, it's a couple of days later and everything is ready to go. So I've stuck with the little 3/4 inch or 20mm conduit, plastic conduit. I've drilled a few holes in it. That's now sitting in the center of our base. So that sits in the center. That goes over the top like that. Now, as for our kind of piston part or the press part, I've actually just glued them all together. It just makes more sense and it's easier to use. I don't need to keep adding them in. I can just push this down as far as I need it to go. I may in future add a piece of hardwood to the end of this. I've had a couple of goes on it. It works quite well. I'll show you that now in a second. I'll take you outside. But this is nice and flat surface. It's not really digging into the timber, so it's spreading the load. You can generate a serious amount of force with this, as I shall demonstrate. I've had a couple of goes and I've made a couple of briquettes and it works really well. So let's go outside. We'll fill a couple of mixtures and let's start pressing some briquettes. Okay, so there is my sawdust. I've actually added some cardboard and stuff to it now, so it's been sitting there for a couple of days. It's ready to go. I'll experiment with the mixture. It's mostly just sawdust and hand plane shavings I have in there with a little bit of cardboard. So we'll see how that works out, and I'll adapt this over time as needs be. Again, it's all experimentation at this stage, so let's get using it. Okay, I'm set up outside and it's starting to rain, typical. So we'll get some mixture into this. So I'm just going to scoop it in, fill this up. The base is not very tight, so there's plenty of gaps for the water to run out, which is important. So there's nothing more to this now than just scoop it in there and fill it up. Doesn't matter if some goes down the center pipe there. It doesn't matter at all. So we want to fill this right to the top. I've found is actually it's a perfect size, so that's what I'm going to do again. So just get that in there like that, and that should be good to press our briquette. Let's do that now. Let me readjust the camera so you can see the pressing of the briquette. Okay, we're set up on the ground just to make this easier to film. It's a little bit messy. I'm actually going to make some sort of tray to catch and reuse the water, because there's a bit of water wastage and it's always good to reuse our water. So what I've found so far is if I do the initial press just to get everything lined up with the hand, and then we can put that in there like so, and get a press down into it. Now it's amazing the amount of force you can generate with this, and the further you move it back, the more force or the force increases. So it is serious pressure. It's an amazing actually bit of kit. So push that right down, just like that. Now getting the briquette out is a little bit on the tricky side. So you can see it's very compacted in there. Hopefully you can see that on camera. So I've just used this. I can sit that up there and just help press it out a bit. So that just makes it come proud of the bottom. One sec now, I'll just grab my other little device. And there is our briquette, just like that. Now it's a little bit of faffing going on here. I'm still getting used to the technique. I have a little cylinder to put up here to help press it out, but I'm not sure where I left it. I'll have to grab that again. So I'm going to make a few more of these now. And as you can see, it turns out quite nice. It's quite well compacted. So I'll let these stack these now and let them dry, and then we can see how they get on the fire. Right guys, there we go. That's the first test, first little batch of briquettes made, and I have to say the consistency is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that has turned out. So it'll be a case of let them dry for a couple of weeks and see how they get on in the fire. I'm going to make a lot more of them, but that's just the first batch, the first test run. Definitely want to improve the workflow, so I think I'll set this up on a bench where I'm making these briquettes just to make everything flow a bit better, make the whole operation work a little bit faster. I just added this piece here just to sit the PVC pipe on, just to help push out the briquette, because the briquette really does get compacted and get stuck in there, so you have to tap it out. And without destroying the briquette, it's nice just to be able to push it out rather than trying to hammer it out, because it could disintegrate if you do that. But yeah, it's amazing the amount of force that this thing generates. It's really impressive. So like I said, I get on, I will make more of these briquettes now. I'll experiment with some of the mixtures, see if I can get better consistency. I know people put like waste coffee and stuff into the mix to help bind the briquettes better. But like I said, I'll let these dry out for a few weeks. I'll get them in the fire. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll do a quick story of these actually burning in the fire and give you an update on how well they work as fuel. But from what I've seen, from what I understand from other YouTube videos, they actually work quite well indeed. So I'm really happy with this. It's nice, quick, simple and easy to use, and it's relatively quick to make a bunch of briquettes. And like I said, once I get my workflow in order, get this set up on a bench where everything is to hand, I'll be able to punch these out pretty quickly indeed. Yeah, so there we go guys. The compound lever press, turn your sawdust into fuel, works quite well. Right guys, so there we go, all finished up with another project. Like I said, this one is nice, simple and easy to make. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, hopefully you get something out of it. And as always, the whole point of this channel is to inspire you guys to get out there in your workshops and get making stuff. So that's it guys, I'm going to get out of here now. I'm going to start making some more briquettes. Any comments, any questions you have, just leave them below. I'll try to get back to everybody if I can. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, think about hitting that subscribe button. That really helps me out a lot. So yeah, winter's coming guys. Let's make some briquettes. Let's get that stove and the home fire burning, and I shall see you in the next project. Mind yourselves. Take care.